Welcome to SWEPT. The Statewide Environmental Project Tracker, or SWEPT, is an interactive web-based application that supports activities in FDOT's environmental process. Today, I'm going to provide an overview of the site. Use the breadcrumb trail at the top left corner of the screen to see the pathway for the page currently showing and where its location is within the website. You can click the name of a page in the breadcrumb to quickly navigate to previously viewed pages. Moving to the right, you'll see a mail icon. This takes you to your inbox. Your inbox contains emails about alerts and notifications received from SWEPT. Alerts will disappear once resolved, but emails about the alerts will remain in your inbox. You can search your inbox by keyword or date. Next is the bell indicating alerts. Alerts are actions or tasks requiring immediate action. You can also see these on your home page. As new alert messages come in, a number indicating the number of alerts you have will appear on the bell icon located at the upper right corner of your screen. Click the bell icon to display the new messages. Next is the account settings. Click the person icon located at the top right corner of the screen. Here you can create your SWEPT password, update your personal information, and log out. Certain users can also delegate authority. On this page, a user who has the authority to grant approvals or process projects through the review process can delegate their authority to other users within their organization. For example, if they're going to be on vacation. They just select the person's name. They can just start typing a name and then select from the list that appears. And then they can give a date range, save the delegation, and their authority will be delegated. Going back to the home, using the breadcrumb trails, let's go to the next row on the top of our screen. The first icon here is a hamburger menu, which makes your left menu disappear or reappear if you happen to need more room. Continuing on over, you'll see a button for PDF, Zip, Excel, or Word, which are activated when they're applicable to a page. You can search the SWEPT site for documents, contacts, and projects. Type all or part of a keyword into the search box on the upper right corner of the screen, and then click the magnifying glass icon. Use quotes around the search term to get an exact match. For example, say I wanted to find a project with Turnpike Spur, exactly spelled like that. In the name, I type it in with including the quote marks and click the magnifying glass. And you'll notice that the project comes up and I can click on that green link and it will open up the project details page with information about the project. For general navigation through the site, you can use our left menu. We already talked about my alerts and my inbox. Below that, you'll see the project input setup. This provides links for our PD&E scope of services tool, basic project setup, and our standard environmental forms. Next is project documents, which is used to process documents through our environmental review process. Projects needing review has a number of useful reports that show where projects are in the process for review. It tells who last signed it and who's next in line. And if the person who's logged in has review or approval authority, they will see a button here that takes them to that page. The project dashboard link allows you to view environmental project schedules, including the project status, most recent changes, and NEPA percentage completions. These dashboards display a spreadsheet based on information pulled from FDOT's project schedule management database. The reports menu provides quick access to standard reports, including the approved categorical exclusion report and the project approvals report. The environmental permits module is used by the environmental permit staff in certain districts to track their environmental permits. And finally, you can find the information provided in this video under our help menu, along with quick guides, videos, and contact information, and our What's New page. If you need immediate help, please contact us at the FDOT OEM Help Desk. In this video, I'm going to show how to fill out a non-major state action checklist. Note that I am on our testing server. While you may see information pulled from a variety of projects, these are used for demonstration purposes only, and I'm not using real project records. To get started, you'll find the NMSA checklist on the left-hand menu under Project Input Setup. About midway down, you'll find it, Non-Major State Action Checklist. Click that option, and it brings up the form. The first prompt, I will enter the FM number and click Load. Notice that I used the first 7 digits, and so it found several different options. I'm going to select this one. Click Create New because I want to create a new NMSA checklist. It's pulled some information in from the work program, like the name and the county, and I start filling in the rest of the information. First thing it's asking for is the project limits. So I'm going to type that in here. And then it asks for some related FM numbers. I would only use this if there was another project that was associated with this. But in this case, I don't need it, so I can skip that. And next is the project description. Notice that this is a text editor with features for bolding, italicize, and underscoring. I can also bullet, create number lists, and add images. Adding the image is fairly simple. I just click the little image icon, and then I upload an image, click Choose File. And I'm going to pull in this photograph and click Upload. Once it's uploaded, I can resize it and add a label by right-clicking on the image, and it brings up the properties. Right here in the label, I can name this whatever I want it to be. And I click OK. I can also change the height and the width, leaving the aspect ratio preserved or aligning it left, middle, or right. I'm going to leave it in the middle. Click OK, and it is loaded. And now I can continue adding more text here, or if I'm done, then it's good to go. Underneath the project description are the evaluation questions. These are a series of yes and no questions. In order for it to proceed as a NMSA, the answers need to be no. Christine did talk about this yesterday. There are some cases that if there's a yes, you would evaluate whether a SEER would be necessary. But in this case, we're going to say no. Notice that there's this column called documentation provided. And it's looking for one of two things, either something in this text box or a document uploaded. to support it. I'm going to show you just what happens if I type something in here. Notice the green checkbox has appeared. And so if the rest of the form, I do similar things. I'm going to click yes or no, and in my case, I'm going to select no. The presentation from yesterday showed what kind of information goes in here. And you can also refer to the PD&E manual. Some of the questions you'll notice have a link to the appropriate chapter with more information. And I'm going to say no to all these questions and then show you how to upload and associate documents with each of these questions. So once I get to the bottom, I can upload my documentation by clicking this button. And our standard upload supporting documentation pop-up comes up, and I choose the file that I want to upload. For example, I just have a general report, and I'm going to open that, and it fills in some of the information. This is how it's going to name the file. I can rename this middle part, but it will append the additional information needed to make sure that it does comply with our standard file naming conventions. I can give it a regular English plain language title here that can be read easily by people reading the file. And then there's these three standard questions: attorney work product, administrative record, and public record. These default to the most common, so I'm going to leave it there. Now I have the options of either picking one or more of these questions, and this is asking me which questions does this particular document support, and I'm going to select them all in this case. And most likely you'll have specific documents for each of these or many of these, but you can actually associate one document with more than one, which I'm going to do in this case. It's going to load it up, and you'll notice now my questions all have green marks, and I can proceed with sending this for approval. You'll notice at the bottom the file that I added is included. If I want to see a draft of the document at any time, I can click this PDF, and it will generate a draft of the form so I can review it to make sure it looks like what I want it to look like. Notice it's a draft, so it's not signed yet. And notice here how it has changed that plain English title and provided that as well as a link to the actual file itself. So it's ready to be approved. I click send for approval. And it is ready to be reviewed by the Turnpike Enterprises Environmental Manager. The manager would have received an email that lets him know that it's ready and with a link to the file. Now I'm logged in as the environmental manager, and I'm at the form, and I would review it and review the documents, and then I have a choice to either approve it as an NMSA or send it back for more information. As the environmental manager, I also do have access to edit the form. So if there was a minor edit that was needed, I would be able to do that myself as well. I'm going to go ahead and approve it and click submit. Once it's submitted, notice I get a prompt to go ahead and complete the environmental certification. I can click this link to do this right away, or I can wait and come back and do it later. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and do it right now. It's just asking a couple questions. Is this supporting construction? I'm going to say no. And verifying this was the date and it remains valid, and I approve it. and it shows the approval history here. I can view the PDF here, either with this link or with this button. I can also go to the project file by clicking this little filing cabinet icon. So you can take a look at what the actual file page appears like. It has the project team who worked on this and the information, basic information that was pulled in, as the project schedule pulled in from PSM, and the project documents that I just uploaded. Notice here's the approved non-major state action checklist. It's a PDF, as well as the supporting documents are listed right here. They're also filed in the various topics as appropriate. Those are mapped to the EDMS that Pete talked about yesterday. Here's an example of what it looks like, the checklist. Notice now that it's approved, the environmental administrator or designee's name appears here, and there's an electronic stamp under it. I can also view the state environmental certification by clicking on PDF as well. And there's that. Down at the bottom of the page, you'll see the approval history of this test project that I just did today. If you have any questions, you can always contact us at our help desk, and the information is located at the bottom of the page. Thank you. I'm going to show you our new swept SEER form that we have currently in testing on our testing server. I'm logged in as a project data entry person, and the project I want to use has not been set up on SWEPT yet. So I have two options here. If I was early in the PD&E phase and I was just starting my studies, compiling different documents and files, I might want to go in and use our basic project setup wizard to set up the project, to build the file and start saving my files into the project details page. Or say I have everything already together and I'm ready to start my form, I can just go straight to the SEER form and it will ask me those same questions to set it up. Now we already have a detailed video showing the basic project setup that goes through all the steps, asking you if it's federal or state. So I'm going to start with directly with a SEER report so you can see it that way, because this way it'll actually know that we're starting with a SEER. So I click on that option and I enter the FM that I want to use and I click load. Notice it's recognizing that it needs to send me to the basic project setup. So I click continue so I can set up my project. If my project was already set up and I did that, it would skip this step. In the setup, it's going to ask me if there's some related FM numbers that I want to keep track of with this project. If it's an ETDM project, I can enter the ETDM project here. It pulled in work program data, just the basic name or project description. And then since I was coming from the SEER form, it already knows that it's a SEER, so it picks that for me. I click next and I can enter my project description. And just like all my other text boxes on SWEPT, I have the options for formatting, for adding an image, for previewing what this particular block of text will look like. I enter my project limits, and if there's a project website, I can add that. Click save and continue. And it is going to ask me if I'm setting this up to complete a reevaluation on a previously approved environmental document. In this case, I want to say no. And it's next asking me who's on the project team. So who is the project manager? I'm going to say Stephanie. And who do I want to make edits? I'm actually logged in using Doug's test account, so it picked him. So I can add anybody else. Let's add Brian in case I need him to edit some of the sections. And do I want to allow someone to edit the scope of services? We're beyond that point, so I can skip that. And it is telling me that I did skip a couple things, but that's okay. It's not required and I don't need it. So it's like confirming, great, I'm done. So I go finish. And now it takes me back to the SEER form so that I can start editing it. Notice at this point, the project information is in progress because I actually just started it from that basic project setup information. And the rest of the sections are not started. As I go through the process, it will tell me when things are in progress and when they're ready for review and when they're approved. So I go through each section at a time. And notice it's also indicating who the project manager is, the district environmental manager, and the project development manager. I click next. And I start filling in the information. This first page pulled in the information that I indicated when I set up the project. Some of it is from the work program, so I can't edit that. Other items I can edit, and there's little edit buttons here. I put in the name of the district contact. I can include consulting firm information on the cover page if I want to by saying yes, and it would ask me for the information, or I can say no. And then it starts asking me for information like the project location map. So I click upload and upload the file and click save. Hold in the project description that I already had, and then I'm going to have my purpose and need statement, test data. And I have options if there's additional documents that are just basic project information that I want to add, I can add them down here. You'll notice there's two different types of documents, either technical materials or attachments. A technical material is going to appear in your document as just the title listed as a reference. And it's referencing something that is in your project file. For example, one of the larger technical reports like the CRAS or the NRE. The attachments, on the other hand, are documents that are actually included in the SEER. So they're actually brought into the PDF and become part of that document in the appendices. Once I'm done with this section, I click the checkbox to say that it's ready for review by the district. And all this means is that as an editor, I feel like it's done and it's ready to process to the next step. So I click next to go to the next page. The next page is planning consistency. Notice that we do have some guidance at the top of the page, and we try and include that wherever possible, either links to PD and e-manual chapters or guidance, videos in some cases to help you know what the content is for each of the sections. In this demonstration, I'm just showing you the functionality, not concentrating on the content. You can get that from the PD e-manual and some of our other training, especially the discussion about the SEER requirements. Notice this says not started. This is just a little status tag, which will be updated as it goes through the process. And there's a series of questions here. Is the entire project funded for the next phase? I say yes, or I can say no. If I say no, there's more questions. So just depending, throughout this form, you'll just find that as you answer questions, yes or no, more questions will or will not appear. Because I said yes, I can put some comments here. Is it currently adopted? I'm going to say yes. Again, if yes or no, kind of just depends. This is what's the context of the project. You're answering the question, but notice, like in this blue note here, that if it's not in the currently adopted LRTP CFP, then provide detail on how implementation and fiscal constraint will be achieved. So we try and provide instructions, and they're generally in these blue boxes with the word note at the beginning. And down here you have additional fields to provide more information. At the bottom of each section, we can also add any commitments that have arisen related to this section. To do that, I just click the add button, and I could put in a commitment if I had one. I'm just showing you for testing purposes. And notice with these that you add them one at a time. So it numbered it. I put in one, I add another, and I click add. And then if I need to edit it or remove it, I can use these buttons to the right, but it's kind of building a table. Once this here is created, all of the commitments that I have put throughout the document will be included in the commitment summary, but it's letting me put them in within the context of the topic that I'm working on. Again, at the bottom, I can add more technical materials or attachments that are needed, and it lists the ones that I've already added. So I have a choice. I can either add documents at the place it makes sense, like while I'm thinking of this particular item, when I come to it, I can add it. Or I can just add them at the bottom of the page. Either way works. One thing to keep in mind is we prompt you throughout on what documents might be needed. Just because there's a prompt doesn't mean it is needed. An understanding of the PD&E requirements is very useful in this case to know what is required and what isn't for the context of your project. Again, I'm going to say it's ready for review and click next. Now it starts on the environmental topics. First is the social and economic with SCE resources. For each of the resources, you'll notice that there's an option to say if it's an enhancement or if it will have a substantial impact or not. How you answer these questions helps to build the fact sheet. That I'll show you that in a little while, but this is building that particular list. So if it is an enhancement, you just click the box and you can say, yes, it's a substantial impact, or no, it's not. And for the SCE, you just include a summary of the information for social resources, whatever we need. We can add attachments, technical materials. Down here towards the bottom, for example, relocation, if I say present, it's going to have a standard statement that will automatically be added to the PDF for you. So this is a standard statement that's required according to the PD&E manual, but you don't have to type it in because it's already going to be included in the PDF for you. I go to resources, and the same thing, status at the top, links to chapters, and I go through questions saying if it's present or not, and depending on the questions, it's going to be it's going to have specific standard statements and additional questions. And you can, in this case, the standard statement is asking for a specific information to be added to the standard statement, and it's giving me those bright yellow indicators telling me where those fields are that need to be filled out, and I just provide the information and puts it in there. And then once I'm ready, I could say ready for review. Each of these different resources is similar with questions and standard statements when applicable. It is ready for review. The status will say ready for review, so you can forward it. I actually need to do a few more that I skipped, checking the box. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And you'll notice I can use my right menu over here to actually hop around, or I can use these links right here. So I need to do physical and commitments. So I'm going to go back here. It's ready. And then my commitment summary, I forgot to click the box. Now notice everything is ready for review, and this has changed to say that it's ready to send to the project manager. I can just go ahead and pretend it's ready for final review, and I submit it. So now the document has been submitted to the project manager. You can view the PDF or the attachments here. And just like our other forms, the PDF is also activated, and you can go to the project details page by clicking the folder. But let's go ahead and log off. Stephanie would have gotten an email, and that email would have a link to it. Now I'm logged in as a project manager. She could have clicked the link in her email and have go directly to the form, but I wanted to show you another place. If, say, she didn't happen to want to do that, she could go down to the projects needing approval and look at the district signatures, and notice she has something in her queue, and it's got a link that, or a button that she can press to actually pull it up to review it. She comes to the first page, and she will go through each page to review it. When she's done reviewing, she goes to the last page and recommends it to send to the environmental manager and the project development manager for certification of the SEER. She could actually also send it back to the project editor for more information and to make corrections and put comments here. Once she submits it, the environmental manager and the project development manager would get notifications that the project is ready for them, and they both need to go in and sign it. And again, I am logged in as the environmental manager and ready to review and approve the report. Again, I would go through the whole thing, make sure it's complete, and when I get to the end, I can indicate that I agree that it's ready. And because I'm the first one, it knows that it still needs to be signed by the project development manager. If the project development manager got in first, it would say to go to the environmental manager. So now I'm logged in as the project development manager, and I'm also ready to certify it, and next step will be going to the SEER approver. Notice that each step is building this approval history. So we can see who created it, who sent it to the PM, and who certified it and submitted it. Now I'm logged in as the SEER approver. So we don't have them go to that form to go through all the pages. We have a more simple approval page for them. And it has the basic information, and it has a link to view the PDF version of the form. They can, if they choose, to view the form. And then right below that, they have an option to approve, to not approve, or to return to the PM for more information. In this case, let's just say it's approved. When they approve it, the approved document goes to the project file, and the document, as well as all the documents associated with it, will be sent to the EDMS. Everybody in the line in the approval history will have received an email telling them that it has been approved, and the environmental manager will get a link to create the state certification. One last thing I would like to show you before we finish this demonstration is what the new SEER PDF will look like when it's developed from SWEPT. The first page is the cover page with basic information, project manager's name, and some standard statements. And this is where the signature of the approver will appear. Second page will have more information, and then the table of contents, which is automatically generated with corresponding bookmarks to the sections as well. You can click on the links either in the bookmarks or on the table of contents to go to specific pages. Right after the table of contents is the location map if you've decided to upload it that way, and the project description, purpose and need, and the planning consistency information. Following that is the environmental analysis summary. This is information that was actually built as you were answering those questions. Remember when I was saying yes or no to substantial, enhanced, or no involvement, this form was being filled out automatically behind the scenes. And that's followed by all of the resource information. After all the resource information, you'll find the list of permits and engineering analysis support, standard statement, project commitments, public involvement, the list of technical materials, and then finally the attachments, which are included as appendices. And these documents are actually included. This list of documents is automatically generated. That's an overall, and then for each of the separate topic sections, there's individual listings, and then the actual documents appear. So that is what the PDF is starting to look like. We really appreciate your input and your help in developing this new tool. Thank you.